Yeah, so the number that I personally look up to, I would like us to have within 10 years at least 100 million active users. And I think it's not too crazy to dream that. I think it's something feasible. It's about finding the right ways to get there. So
Mhm.
by users, I'm especially referring to patients. So if we can be available for many patients worldwide to use our services, I think that's incredible.
Yeah, so it's
And
basically like how many patients can you help discover treatments? How many patients can you help contribute to disease research in their own disease and connect to peers? So, yeah, if we
Mhm.
can provide those services, then we are really doing our mission. Then we are making personalized health more accessible and equitable.
Welcome to Women Disrupting Tech. My name is Dirk Jan Hupkes, and on this podcast, I give the women who work in tech the platform they need to inspire and empower each other. Join me on a journey into the world of entrepreneurship, funding, biases, and role models to discover the strategies for success in the tech industry. In other words, how women can disrupt tech. Are you ready to listen? Hey, welcome back to Women Disrupting Tech, and thank you for tuning into episode 98. What if accessing your health data was as easy as logging on to Spotify? And what if that data could help you find better treatment options, including the ones that your doctor may not even know about? If you've ever asked yourself those questions, you've landed on the right podcast episode. Because in this episode, Sara Okhuijsen and Nima Salami are my guests to share how they are building Oasis Now, a platform designed to make personalized medicine accessible to everyone. From their unexpected first meeting at a student gala to catching the attention of Google and NVIDIA and winning Slush 100, their journey shows how tech and trust can work together in healthcare. By listening to this episode, you'll discover why most clinical trials struggle to recruit the right patients, how Sarah and Nima are building a secure platform that lets patients take control of their own health data, and what they've learned about leadership, fundraising, and building a mission led team. Plus, you'll hear how Sarah stepped into the CTO role even though she didn't think she was quite ready for it. In the end, today's episode is a story about inclusion, innovation, and the power of starting with why. So, when you're ready to listen and learn how Oasis Now is making health data work for everyone, please welcome to Women Disrupting Tech, Sara Okhuijsen and Nima Salami. Hey, Sara Okhuijsen and Nima Salami. Welcome to Women Disrupting Tech. Good to have you. Question I always ask at the start is how you got into your current positions as founders of Oasis Now. So, Sarah, the floor
Yeah.
is yours.
Thank you, Dirk Jan, for having us. Yeah, I got scouted by Nima, I would say, actually. Nima started the company before I joined. I joined 4 years ago.
Mhm.
And actually, I made my first ever post on LinkedIn. And then Nima was like, hey, I need someone with that expertise in DNA and bioinformatics. And then I started advising the company, and that's where it all got started.
Okay, cool. So, you have a background in DNA and nanotechnology?
Yes, yeah, yeah. So I did this very interdisciplinary study at TU Delft and Erasmus Medical Center,
Mhm.
combining biology, physics, and engineering. And yeah, my fascination is really in DNA. I find it really cool, specifically DNA data. I find it really cool that we can read out sort of the code of our bodies, the recipe of our bodies, see what we're made of, and even predict our medical future from that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's really exciting to me and what I delved into in my research and my studies.
Okay. So then, Nima, you started Oasis Now. Tell us a bit your story because I think it's quite an impressive story to hear.
thanks, Serkian. Yeah, and happy to be here. For me, the story started quite a few years before Oasis Now started. My parents and I, as refugees, we had to travel from country to country several times. And
Hmm.
for my mom, who has chronic diseases and rare diseases, this was more difficult because she didn't have access to her medicine in every new country, because she didn't have her diagnosis and the medical records with her. So at every new place, she had to go through the whole process of re-diagnosis, which could take months. For her asthma disease specifically, took more than a year for her to get access to her asthma medicine here in the Netherlands, in such an advanced country. So this was very life threatening, and for me as a computer science nerd, I saw that actually at the core a data problem, because I knew my mom's health data must be somewhere, right? And we have all of our information on the interwebs, somehow not our most important data. And also, I was coming to this from a sort of cybersecurity background. That's also my interest. AI and the cybersecurity are the areas that I've tried to specialize in as well. So I was like, what if we make this data accessible to the patients, to the individual, in a secure manner, and then we can connect them to all the best treatments that are out there, because the information about all treatments and all the papers and medical documents, etc., is somewhere as well. So it's like at the core a matching problem, right? We can match all the patient records to the database of all treatments and medical solutions. So that was sort of the initial idea behind Oasis now.
Okay. So we'll get to what it is now in a minute. So how did the two of you meet? Nima scouted Sarah.
Yeah, so I was still doing research at the time. And even though I have such a love for the scientific field of it, I was a little bit disillusioned by what it is in practice. So there are at least three issues with DNA data infrastructure in practice. Like, researchers have barely access to the right data. So data accessibility is a huge problem. And there is also a huge bias in the data. So, like, more than 95% of all DNA data is mostly Western ethnicity. So, yeah, all the research that comes out of all of this DNA data, precision medicine research, new medicine research, uh, is maybe not even suitable for other populations. And there is, of course, also a huge privacy issue. So at the time when we were getting into this, you had 23andMe being all the rage, people taking tests, and maybe not realizing that actually they are the product because their data is being sold behind their backs. And over the past few years, we've seen a lot more increase in this awareness. But yeah, so that led me to go from academia to, hey, what if I can build a better technical infrastructure together with Imam, and actually make systemic changes and systemic improvements in this field of research and research data infrastructure. So yeah, that was my motivation to start. And yeah, Nima told me about all this cool cybersecurity technology that can actually improve data access and privacy radically. And yeah, so that got me really excited to get into the startup. We met actually earlier. So we met before that LinkedIn post. We met 2 years earlier at a gala, really like a fairy tale story.
Yeah.
So yeah, we both did a board year at the TU Delft. Me from my study association in improving education in the position of education, and Nima and more of a political student party. And then you had it's called like a landelijk bestuursgala, so like a national gala with all these boards.
Hmm.
And I was wearing a long glitter dress, and Nemo was like, "I gotta talk to that girl." And then we proceeded to talk about education all night, like true nerds. So it was really great. So that's where we met for the first time. But then we didn't actually have contact after that for 2 years, until he reached back out to me to be like, "Hey, I want to work together."
It's cool that it also you reconnected through a LinkedIn message or a post. I would say it's really underestimated as a way of connecting. I
Yeah,
was yesterday at an event and there were two women uh, more or less bashing LinkedIn, like, yeah, that's old school. You cannot do anything for your career there. But
yeah, yeah. No, it's one of the first things I learned starting out in entrepreneurship, like what you have to do is you have to validate your idea. You have to just talk to people who are in the market, who are experiencing the problem that you think that they have, right?
Yeah.
And if you go to LinkedIn and you're like, hey, can I talk to you for 10 minutes? Can I have a cup of coffee with you? And just reaching out, like people are so much more willing to talk to you than I ever expected before starting out. And LinkedIn is just such a great medium to see who's connected to who. And maybe you
Yeah,
don't,
that too. Yeah.
yeah, maybe you
Yeah.
don't even want to reach out via LinkedIn, but you can at least see who knows who and ask, hey, Dirk Jan, I see you know this person. Can you please introduce me? Like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's also a really powerful part of LinkedIn for sure. The connectivity part, the really connecting to people.
yeah, it's huge. I really don't know how we would do things without LinkedIn, especially when Nima came to the Netherlands, he had no network at all. And
Yeah, I
I,
was about to say because for you that must have been sort of a God's gift, let's say.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, I very soon realized for what we want to work on, our mission is to make personalized medicine accessible for everyone
Yeah,
globally. And if you want to build something for people worldwide, you need to be able to connect with them, understand them, being in this country, I knew that I have come here with zero connections. I didn't know any single person in Netherlands before arriving here, so I
mhm,
knew that there's going to be an uphill, very steep uphill process. And then I had to think about what tools and what locations get me and get us there. And so one of the places that we had to spend a lot of time at was at Yestelf, so where our office is also located right now, because there's a lot of events taking place, a lot of people joining from business background, politics, etc. Right, it's quite a boiling pot of technology and innovation. And the other way was LinkedIn, right? I just knew that there are a lot of people that I would like to speak with. Many of them must be on LinkedIn, not everyone. So let me just try reaching out to them. And of course, like maybe 90% of the people that I reached out to at the time, they didn't respond because they didn't know me, like didn't have time, understandable. But that 10% who did, was the starting point. And then you start building out, connecting with people who are relevant for you, and then they can make intro for you to other people. And that's been a very crucial pivotal tool in the process of growing our network. And also, not from our point of view of growing our network, oh cool, we know more people, but more of like we need to hear what different people have problems with, right?
yeah,
Especially in our field, we want to make sure that the products that we make are actually fitted and useful for the end users. And the end users could be the patients with chronic and rare diseases, who all have their own patient journey and story, to the organizations and how which difficulties they experience on day-to-day basis. So it's been a really valuable tool, at least in our case. But again, it's a powerful tool. It really depends on how you use it.
okay. I would like to switch to the problem that you're solving because you're solving a big problem. Ultimately, it's about equality and accessibility, but it's also about precision medicine. And if I remember correctly, it's specifically first instance is clinical trials.
yeah, yeah,
So tell me what the problem is with clinical trials at the moment.
yeah. I will first explain a little bit about sort of the bigger vision of the problem that we're solving and then get into the clinical trials. So Nima already mentioned that our mission is to make personalized health accessible for everyone globally. So that means more equitable. That's a huge, huge mission, right? So we found our path to get there through clinical trials, but I just want to sort of take you along. So with this personalization, with personalized health, we don't refer to more of the classical term, but more to personalization that you see around you in algorithms like Netflix knows you, Spotify knows you. So our theory is that if you, as an individual, you have access to your own health data, you have
Hmm.
your own health profile, then we can
Hmm.
personalize healthcare around you, and through that make it more accessible. And this there are sort of two sides to the same coin. So yes, it is very beneficial for the patient to have this personalized profile and better access. But also, if you have agency and you choose to contribute that data profile to research in a safe way, then you can also get better precision medicine research from that. So we sort of always look at it from both the patient point of view and the research point of view, and we want to feed into that positive loop of better accessibility for the patient and then also contributing back to research. Um, and us as data nerds, we were always only thinking about data driven research.
Hmm.
And then we were trying to find our starting point. And yeah, how do you start out as a startup, as a small company, and say, I want to change the data infrastructure, right? You have to work together with all these big stakeholders. So
Uh-huh.
what is the big pressing problem that people need to solve today? And then we learned about clinical trial field, and we were quite shocked actually to find out the problems that are happening there. So it takes, let's say, average 15 years for a medicine to get to market. So if they find an interesting candidate, the pharmaceutical companies, they need to do a lot of testing, clinical
Mhm.
trials in different phases, and it takes many years. And then the medicine gets approved, and then finally it can get to patients and it can actually help people. So if you can speed up that timeline, yeah, that would be very meaningful from a social impact point of view. It turns out also from a financial point of view, because the pharmaceutical companies only have a limited time to get their return on investment. There's a patent on this medicine, and they have to earn back all of the investment they did in that medicine and all the medicine that didn't work out.
Mhm.
They have to earn that back in that limited amount of time. So the faster you can do that getting to market time, you help the patient, you help the pharmaceutical companies, and all the parties in between, which are many.
Does it also help in lowering cost because time is money?
Yeah, exactly. So time is money because of that limited patent timeline.
Yeah.
Time is money in the sense of 8 million a day. Time is money.
$8 million a
eight
day.
million dollars a day. Time is money. So that's sort of the indirect cost that
Okay.
we're talking about. So, and then you're looking at, okay, why is it so slow, right? And I thought like, oh, it's such complex science, like there must be very complex reasons, but it's an operational problem. They cannot find the right people. So patients, of course, they
It's
want.
also about access the other way.
Yeah, exactly. So they cannot find the right patients for their trials, and that is actually the rate limiting step right now. So 80% of clinical trials get delayed or even canceled due to this recruitment problem, due to not being able to find the right patient. Well, so that's the problem where we're starting.
Yeah. So we know how pressing that is. Do you start also pitching then the product at the pharmaceutical companies, or is this still approached from the patient point of view? Hey, you can expedite your own recovery for is maybe not a good word, but you can expedite your health impact by collecting or donating data to these clinical trials.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So how it ties together is indeed our sort of unique patient first approach.
Hmm.
So since it's such a huge problem, many parties have attempted to solve this problem, but our approach is unique and also only enabled by the new technology that exists today. So it wasn't possible to solve this way before. So it's a data driven approach. So being able to take those patient profiles and very precisely match them to very complicated criteria of what does this patient need to look like that gets included into this research.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, being able to make that very precise match,
Hmm.
that's how you can really solve this problem. But it's super sensitive information,
Yeah.
so how do you govern this data? And we approach this in two ways. One is like privacy and choice, and one is privacy and security. So
Hmm.
we take a unique patient first approach where we allow the patient to govern and say, okay, I am interested actually in finding out what my clinical trial options are. I want to have this algorithm check this for me continuously because my doctor doesn't have time to do that for me or doesn't even know about this. So you can imagine people with chronic diseases, they might be desperate for new solutions. Rare
Yeah.
diseases, they want to know what's out there for them. So that's from the patient point of view. And then, yeah, our team is actually a bunch of privacy and security nerds. So we specialize in how do we govern this data securely so we can put it into these algorithms and match it. So we offer both a product to the patient as well as a product to the hospitals because they have this data, and that's where we are starting out.
Okay. So why hospitals and not
Because
pharmaceuticals?
um, because even though the pharmaceuticals are the problem owners,
Yeah.
and the financiers, they are not the parties that are working with the patients. They are not the parties that have the data.
Ah,
So it's a very complex multi-stakeholder environment where you have the patient who gets in
yeah.
the hospitals. That's where you have the trial sites. The trial sites are executed under the management of CROs.
Hmm.
So CROs get the assignments from the pharmaceutical companies. So,
Okay.
and
And just for basic knowledge, what is a CRO?
a contract research organization.
Okay.
So I thought that when I learned about this field, that pharmaceutical companies would be executing these clinical trials, but they usually don't.
Okay. So
Yeah,
but do they buy sort of capacity in hospital then?
yeah, that's how you could see it.
Okay. Okay. So my question is also because this is patient first. How do you, except for the privacy component, how do you, from a behavioral point of view, help um, yeah, these patients, these customers, use your platform and give their data to these, well, big pharma companies, which they may or may not trust?
Yeah, very good question. So our patient app is of course a work in progress, right? But
Hmm.
we have these three pillars that we see of all the functionalities that we want to build over time. We want discover, contribute, connect. So we want patients to be able to discover treatment options such as
Hmm.
clinical trials. We want them to be able to safely contribute their data to research, whether that's from hospitals or from pharmaceutical companies, and connect with patients like them, have peer-to-peer connections, support each other. Um, and so that's what we're building towards, and for that we're working together with patients and patient organizations to really see what are their dire needs. And for example, getting connected to peers is really a dire need that
Yeah.
they have.
Okay. So it comes over the access of community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
Ah.
then with regards to how to safely contribute your data to research, that's an immensely complicated topic that we're also co-designing with patients and with AI ethicists and lawyers and privacy experts. So it's a very interdisciplinary endeavor. So yeah, there are so many parts I could highlight, but the part that I like to highlight is that as the CTO, some of course, like I like to take the tech perspective, is
Huh?
that what we want to do and what our technology can do is actually guarantee privacy and security from a completely technical point of view. So instead of having to say, oh, I trust this party to not do anything else with the data than that I gave permission to, there is no way that they could do anything different with the data than you gave permission for. And that's our like cutting edge cybersecurity research. We got a European grant for that. NVIDIA and Google reached out after we let them know that we're working on this. So we really think that this encrypted computing solutions are really the future, where yeah you can show trust from a stemming from a technical point of view, and then the challenge is how do you translate that to all of these stakeholders to make sure that they understand this. And that's, I think, the learning curve for the past few years. How do we talk about privacy to people?
Yeah. So what have you learned about that?
Trust is always a network thing. Like, hey, I trust you, Dirk Jan. So therefore, I can trust your friends because if you say you can trust this person, then I trust that person. So you have all these different ways that you can grow your trust, but they all come down to network. So you have certifications and audits, but they are all only because we trust this certifying body, or we got an award because we trust the person that gave the jury that gave out that award, or this patient organization that works with us, or this big medical center that works with us. Well, if they work with them, then I trust them, right? So that's always how it works. So you have to build up your network of trust through awards, certifications, collaborations, and what we also learned is to never bring up privacy first. That's what we did when we started out. You always have to ask people to say like they're first convinced of the use case and the value add, and then they're like, but wait a minute. We're talking about something really sensitive here. What about privacy? And then it's like, well, actually, and then we can talk about.
Ah, so you really have to sell on the core of the service rather than on the USP that you have.
Yeah, exactly. That's also the challenge for, I think, for many technical founders, that they want to talk about the how instead of the why
Uh-huh.
first. It's about the why. What value are you adding? And then, okay, how are you doing it comes next, not first how. And then, but wait, why are we talking about this? What is the use of this?
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
Okay. Cool. So how are you going to bring this? Because the big play obviously is to take this global, because that's how you get rid of biases in data. That's how you make it truly equal, an equality play, an accessibility play. How do you scale this? What are your plans on scaling this?
Yeah, so the infrastructure that we build can be, technically speaking, globalized, right? It's
Hmm.
we build everything cloud first, and we build everything, of course, privacy by design. But the privacy by design also plays a really key role in our compliance approach. So we've been able to get certified ISO 27001, which is sort of the world standard for building cloud solutions and software solutions. And so with that certificate, we can basically bring this product also worldwide, and we are adhering to the highest, strictest data privacy regulations of Europe, which is higher than
Hmm.
anywhere else in the world. So in that way, basically by meeting the highest standard, it makes it a lot easier to enter other markets. So then the question becomes, which markets do we want to enter next, right? So the eventual goal is worldwide, but then you need to take things step by step. So since we're based in Netherlands and we're based in Europe, it's very logical for us to first expand within European countries.
Hmm.
So of course you can think of neighboring countries like France and Germany, but also UK.
Hmm.
So, but there's the third aspect to all of this is where the clinical trials are taking place. Since our first focus is within clinical trials, historically some countries are more open to that or have better established trial sites and
Hmm.
network, etc. So we need to tap into those networks. So we take all of these items into account, but at the same time we have an eye for the remote areas, right, or places that are harder to reach. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
personally from Iran, right? The Middle East is one of the sort of more, let's say, neglected in many of these medical research for a lot of complicated reasons, right? And so, how do we bring this to Iran? How do we bring this to many African countries, which we have a heart for?
Uh-huh.
It's also about getting connection to the established networks in those regions and being able to start and set stuff up for the first time in some regions as well. And so there's like some yeah, daring steps that we need to take for some markets, and for some other markets there is some established effort we can just connect to,
Mm.
and we are in the process of making those decisions. So we can't really yet fully disclose like which are the next markets we're going to,
No,
but,
no, no.
but
But it
both of
was more.
both.
I was especially interested in the part. Okay, how do you bring this back to Iran, for instance,
Exactly. Yeah.
because ultimately that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Very true. So that it also goes in two ways in that regard as well, right? So on the patient app side, a lot of the patient app, they can sign up almost from anywhere in the world and start using the system. Some
Hmm.
of the features within the app probably are not yet available in some markets and the others.
Hmm.
And there is the other aspect with regards to working with the institution like hospitals and medical centers, etc. And that might go slower, but I hope and I believe the patient approach and the patient product that we have is going to grow globally even faster than
Yeah.
the B2B
Is
approach.
that also in part a network play again? Because my experience with especially the more academic hospitals, let's say the university linked hospitals, is that they're all connected anyway. So if you trust, for instance, Erasmus Medical Center or the VU Medical Center, you maybe then also as an African university hospital, you're like, oh, maybe then.
Yeah, no, you were 100% right indeed. So you build up your network through all these institutions, and that might go slower. And then the other part is indeed just sort of the mobile network. So looking at what global infrastructure is actually already there, and utilizing that. So it's like we always have two sides. We have a site for businesses, and we have a site for individuals, and they both have different approaches, but they very much go together.
Okay, cool. So let's look ahead a bit. Let's say we're 10 years from now. What do you, how do you define success 10 years or so from now? What do you want to have achieved by then?
Yeah, so the number that I personally look up to, I would like us to have within 10 years at least 100 million active users. And I think it's not too crazy to dream that. I think it's something feasible. It's about finding the right ways to get there.
Mhm.
The By users, I'm especially referring to patients. So if we can be available for many patients worldwide to use our services, I think that's incredible.
Yeah, so it's
And
basically like how many patients can you help discover treatments, how many patients can you help contribute to disease research in their own disease and connect to peers. So yeah, if we can provide those services, then we are really doing our mission, then we are making personalized health more accessible and equitable. So that is definitely what success would look like.
I think another cool thing that if it would happen is that we have directly contributed to some new medicines being found treating some certain sort of rare condition or a disease that haven't been addressed before, or new medicine for an existing connection,
Yeah,
for
that
an
would be
existing condition. Yeah.
the ultimate use case, I think.
Right. Yeah. Then we have made it full circle. So that
Yeah.
would be amazing.
Okay. Oh, I wanted to talk about one thing cool you already did, which is win Slush 100. Nima, you pitched in front of what was it, 11 or 13,000 people?
Yeah, I think live was around 10, 11,000 people, and there were 5,000 people watching it online as well.
Okay, so how do you prepare for that? Because pitching is not every founder's hobby per se, but pitching in front of a live audience like that must be a special experience.
Very true. I think you prepare for it by not preparing with that in mind, so to say. At
Oh,
least in
okay.
my case, I try to not think about how many people are going to be looking at me as I'm doing it, because I think it is, at least for me, it's quite scary to
Yeah.
think about how many eyes are on you. So, I mean, it's funny. The pitch itself, it's the story of our company. So we try to tell it every day, as many times as possible. Right, that's sort of our day-to-day job.
Yeah.
There is one thing to pitch in a conversation like this, that it's two ways,
Yeah.
then pitch it in a way that you're time bound, you're time boxed, and we
Yeah.
have a lot to tell. So that's sort of usually the
Huh?
hardest part for us. So I think the pitch that we gave at Slush, like we had pitched something similar to it for around maybe 200, 300 times over the past couple of months before it,
Mm-hmm.
Investor
many
conversations.
investor conversations, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But again, keeping that short and concise, and that it checks all of the boxes of what they usually want to hear, etc. I think I really actually figured it out the night before I had to do the final pitch on the stage.
Yeah,
I,
because I saw you pitch in the semifinals and then I saw you pitch in the final. And I saw you somewhere. I remember this because I was watching you pitch in the finals and I was like, oh, so he's actually going back to his initial pitch. There was
right.
I'll include a link to the pitch because it's magnificent anyway. But I saw you sort of circle back to your original pitch because you somewhere hit a road bump.
That's true. Thanks. Yeah, and I think because there is a simpler version of the pitch that can capture people's attention, make them understand within 3 minutes time
Yeah,
of a pitch. But there's a lot more nuances to it, and there is that important why behind why we started this, and I think it's we you would like to emphasize that as well.
yeah. I
And I
think
think
the why is a big part of the story, and I think it's a powerful part of the story, especially in your case because you well. I wouldn't say firsthand, but you witnessed it firsthand. You saw what the impact in real life is of a person not having access to his or her medical data and then having to also flee the home, which is, well, I can't even imagine what that must be like. So it's trauma on trauma then.
indeed, and I feel like that's when life gives you lemons. You need to make lemonade part of
Yeah.
thing, right? And the other aspect of it is also considering who the audience is, and usually you can try to focus your pitch in a way that know that this person maybe has this background knowledge. So let me try to focus on this part, and the other part
Hmm.
repeating what they already know. But the challenge of pitching to an audience of 10 to 15,000 people is like everybody's in the audience, right? But
Yeah.
we knew that this is a sort of a startup pitch competition, and the main sort of number one people that need to hear this are the jury, which are investors. So we also try to say it in a way that they need to hear those parts as well, right? We know that there are some check boxes that they need to hear, that you have figured out, who your actual customers and end users is, what are the ways that you can earn money from it, etc., which are an important part of building a business as well. So try to address all of these topics in a short period of time. I think that just comes with a lot of times of practice,
Yeah.
which,
Why now? Why you? Like, yeah.
yeah. And I mean, so also to add the funny part about it
Yeah.
as well, like, I mean, again, I've pitched this like hundreds of times.
Huh?
So if you wake me up probably at 3 in the morning from the bed and be like, pitch, I probably should be able to pitch it. But then when you go on the stage, somehow I start forgetting words because I can feel the weight, the sheer weight of everybody's eyes on me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my, it felt heavy, not heavy in a negative way, but it's just like you feel like there is,
Yeah, you feel the pressure.
you feel the pressure. Yeah. And all the, flashlights and spotlights and the sounds. And it was,
Yeah, because maybe good for people to understand what this environment is like because the room is totally dark
yes. Yeah. Yeah.
and
The
you're on
room is totally
stage
dark,
with all the flashlights on it.
all the flashlight, all the projector lights, and they're all moving and coming and going. It's like almost as if you're in a dance club, so to say, right? So that's the funny vibe at
And then
Slush.
the last few seconds, they want to warn you that your time is up. And normally, as a speaker, you're looking at sort of a projection of the slides on that screen on the floor
Yeah.
to see where you're at, and so you don't need to look backwards, but you can keep looking at the audience. But in the last few seconds, the screen started like flashing red light.
Yeah, and I sort of couldn't see what slide I'm on anymore, right? Because the screen turned dark.
Yeah.
And that was very surprising to me because for the final pitch, they gave us an extra minute
Yeah.
and I had not added much more to the pitch. So I was like, I'm going to have enough time. But somehow, I guess because I was stressed, I was trying to say it a bit slower so everyone can follow. I had run out of time. So I was like, which slide am I? Like, how do I need to finish this? Like, all the stressful moments, the classic. So it
Yeah.
was a fun
And
experience.
also with regards to the questions, how do you prepare? Like indeed, what Nima already said, like just nonstop pitching over a long period of time, but also the night before, I think you practiced until 2 a.m. also another 40 times or something to just do it on muscle memory, I guess.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was like snowing really hard. We were in Helsinki in Finland,
Yeah.
and I just knew I can't go back home yet because if I go back home, then I'm gonna get very sleepy and I want to sleep, but I still have to practice. So it's just like walking in the street under the snow, sort of talking to myself. People seeing me just like on my own, walking the street, talking out loud because I'm practicing the piece. I was like, "What's wrong with this person?" At 2 a.m., he's just walking the street, talking out loud.
Yeah.
But that's the founder's life.
Yeah, but it won you the competition in the end. That
Yeah.
and the trust of the jury. So, what did winning do to your fundraising strategy? Because you are fundraising, or you've maybe completed.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, I mean, incredible to get investment from specifically these investors. They're they're such a good, they're such good firms. They're such a good match specifically for our stage, for our field, for our mission. So yeah, this was really sort of a best case scenario for the stage that we're in.
Definitely. And I mean, the joke, which is almost true, is that you're always fundraising as a startup.
Yeah,
I think actually, as Sarah mentioned, having these investors specifically give us a lot of comfort in a sense that these are the investors who have backed some of the most successful companies of our time from the earliest stages, like where we are, right, from
yeah,
pre-seed all the way up to the point
Yeah,
that went
General
IPO
Catalyst
and they
had
went live. General Catalyst, for example, is one of the early investors in Airbnb
yeah.
or Stripe of a kind. And so this
Uh,
is
and
uh,
it's like one of the really big guys. This is like Major League Baseball
yeah,
or
and I mean, this funny thing about them is that they're one of the first sort of believers into the health tech concept, right?
Mm,
Because there are not that many health tech unicorns, so to say, right? So most investors don't really want to invest in this field. Understandably, if you look at the historical, but General Catalyst has one of the few, and they are one of the few who have actually been able to make very successful companies in this field. So they bring years of experience in that field and network, And funny enough, they believe in this so much that they even bought a hospital so that their startups can actually, be able to test a lot of their ideas there. And I think that's very unique for any VC to be able to, take such steps.
Yeah, and then to have them back you is if your access sort of revolves around hospitals, it's also well more than a nice, but also a really practical way of helping and getting help.
Yeah, it's what they call smart capital. It's more than money. It's also network and yeah, help in so many other ways. So yeah, it's really a best case
Okay,
scenario.
cool. So do you also because Nima, you mentioned that there most investors avoid health still, um, while there are really huge opportunities there. Um, so how do you then scout for the investors that are out there and that are willing? And also how do you combine that with stage, the size of the fund relative to the investment you need?
Yeah, no, indeed, that's a very good question, because I mean, for us, it was also like we had to figure it out, right? We didn't know it before talking to so many of them, and the result of that is that you get a lot of no's, which is, very heartbreaking at the moment. I can't deny all the times that it broke my heart so much that I had to cry, right? So that's sort of the part of the bittersweet part of the journey.
Mm,
But there is a lot that can be done nowadays with like a lot of tools. I'm starting to use some tools that I can do like a pre-screening of what type of investor I need to speak to, right? Depending on what stage we are, what we want, how much we want to raise,
mm,
what they have invested before, what do they have experience. Now I'm going more at it in a more methodical approach than
mhm.
than before, because there are tools that provides me a lot of these insights, and I already know many of them because I've talked to, I think, at least 200 VCs over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
um but like general tip, I think someone is going to do their fundraising maybe for the first time or second
Mm,
time. And I've only done it twice as well, so I'm not the most expert in this by any means. So I would say one is do the research of knowing if there is at least an initial fit before reaching out to them, because
yeah.
otherwise you're wasting both parties time. I'm not saying there's no value in talking with them, because you can still learn from all those rejections, but you can make a better use of your time. That's one. And two, it's also sort of really taking into account the match between you as a founder, your founding team, and the
Mm,
investor that you want to talk to, right? It's not only just about
Specifically the partner. So
especially like sort of the investment partners of that firm, whether you both see eye to eye with regards to the future vision of your company, because
mhm.
otherwise you might receive the money, but at the same time you have to constantly be in a battle of convincing them that I want to run the company in a certain way than
Mhm.
another way, right? So there needs to be a human match as well, besides just your companies being matched for investment.
How do you find that? What do you look for?
Yeah, so I nowadays that I have a bit more network, I try to do also, what is it called, like a due diligence on the
Yeah.
investors as well, right? I try to reach out to the people that might know those partners, or most specifically the startup founders
Mhm.
that have already received investment from those VCs, and I try to hear from them how is their experience after the investment round, right? Now that they have the money, do they enjoy the conversation that they have? Do they look forward to that investor meeting, or do they dread it? And I think that's a really huge indicator, and that's sort of, I try to make it a clear sign for myself when I already have a first or second conversation with the investor. Do I'm like, I look forward to have another conversation with this person or not? And that's the human side of that I think you need to always have in check for yourself. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we are all humans interacting with each other, right? Of course, we are building a company. Of course, they have a VC and they have the money to invest,
Mhm.
but you need to enjoy spending time together, right? It's like almost like choosing your next employee. Um,
yeah, it's
in
very long term, a VC startup relationship. Of course, well, it differs also per company how long term it is. But for our company with our big mission, it's quite a relatively long timeline, and that's also one of the many parameters that has to match in the investor company fit.
Yeah, because some of the VCs have a fund of like 10 years and then they need to start returning money. And I think that's not really the timeline that you're looking at. You're
exactly. So
more
that's
looking
maybe
at
one of the reasons.
15, 20.
That's it. That's it. And I think you said 10. I think most of the VCs that I've spoken to, they're usually between 2 to 5 or 6 or 7 max. I think the ones that are already above 10 are among the fewer ones, and 15 are like
Yeah,
the
that's
looking
okay.
for. Yeah,
So those are the gems that you want to talk to. And then
that's
you also, to your point, really don't want to dread the conversations with them.
that's it.
So let's talk a bit more about the magic part, and people matching with people, but more about how do you, because you have a team of people who are really passionate about cyber security, about DNA, about bringing this whole thing to life. How do you look for those next employees? How do you find them? Do you scout for diversity at all, or because you're solving in essence an equality slash diversity problem?
Yeah, it comes from multiple ways. Like you already noticed, we talk about the mission of the company a lot,
Uh-huh.
and why we're doing this. And I think that's the most important factor, that everyone in the team gets energy out of that mission, out of that purpose,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe can find themselves in maybe a specific version of that, or has affinity in some other type. So that intrinsic motivation, that's really important for forming the team, and that's also how people find us. So either they already know us from studying, and they've been in our environment, and they know us, and they are know like, hey, Nima and Sarah are working on this business. I'm interested to join. Or they hear us speaking at events, and people reach out to us. They're like, hey, a friend told me that you're working on this, and they've been hearing me talk about this for a while. So, I need to be here. So yeah, it's the resonance in the mission that really gets us together, and that either people already know us, or they even find us through that and reach out to us. So that's really the thing that binds us all together, and that motivates us, and that drives us, and gets us out of bed every day, and makes us push through when the odds are like, the odds are always against you as a startup, but it is
Yeah,
really possible.
yeah.
So yeah, then you dare to dream big enough.
So what happens when things get hard, both in the team and between yourselves?
Yeah, you have to face the facts, the hard facts, that things are difficult, and don't look good, and talk about it together, and say, okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to give up, or are we going to continue? And there's this saying that people have, that they say that the startup doesn't fail until the founders give up. Of course, there are many other factors, but do you give up if your runway is like 1 month left? Do you say, okay, it didn't work out, guys? Or do you say, no, even if there's like no money, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep
Yeah,
going at it, and that's really where I think, again, the drive and the intrinsic motivation really helps. So that's, yeah, when it gets hard, you face the facts, fix it, and keep going.
yeah,
That's what we have done so far, going through several hard seasons, but then also again experiencing these big, seasons where everything goes amazing, and
yeah.
now
It's
we have traction, and yeah, it's a ride.
it's a roller coaster for sure. Do you have, and maybe you don't have experience with this, but I was wondering if it's an advantage to pitch to investors as a mixed founder team.
Yeah, that's so hard to answer, because of course, like, your reference is yourself, right? And yeah, you hear stories. Yeah, I really wouldn't know whether it's a benefit of, yeah, I guess it's really a benefit with regards to exposure, right?
Hmm.
Because I mean, a female CTO and a refugee CEO, like, wow, if you want to have your diversity points on your events, just invite
Yeah,
us,
yeah, check.
right?
Yeah,
So, and I mean, if you look at our team, like, it looks like we're just gathering nationalities for the sake of it, but that's really not what we're doing. We're looking at, what do these people bring to the table? Are they motivated? And if they have an interdisciplinary profile, then amazing, you know. But yeah, with regards to investors, I really don't don't know whether it's an advantage.
Yeah, it's difficult to answer. I mean, I would say with some of the investors, you do get a feeling that they're like, but for most of them, you don't get that feeling, right? Because most people try to be professional. So even if they have something in their mind, they might not show it. So it's hard to really assess it, at least from our perspective.
Yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
guess you have a lot of like it's human natural human behavior to look for people that are similar to you, right? That's
Yeah.
also how a lot of these biases on the workplace also exist, right? Hire someone that's really similar to you and those things. So I guess if people are not bias aware, then I don't think it would help. If people are bias aware, then maybe it does help. But then you also see that people make funds out of it, which is amazing for sort of like correcting that bias. Like those are really great initiatives. But if you're looking for like what we're looking for, we want healthcare investors and we want social impact investors and we want high tech investors, and we're on so many different uh, yeah disciplines and focuses that's where we want to really have the match. um, then I don't know if a female founder fund would be able to lead the round and offer that, for example, that healthcare specific need that we have. So yeah, because our company, I mean, it is about diversity and equitability, but that's not the core focus. So I don't know if there's an inherent match in that. But if someone, within a healthcare fund has that bias awareness, wow, like that's amazing, right? That's the perfect fit. And I think we have found those people. Yeah.
At least for now.
Yeah. I guess it's a like Nima said, you're always fundraising.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a self fulfilling prophecy, right? So we have been able to gather amazing people around us, including the investors that we have had in the previous round, in this round.
Hmm.
I think then all as a group look for the next people who want to join this fun group of people, right? In a sense that not to say that the other groups are not fun, but more of like, as Sarah said, sometimes you attract the people who think similar to you, just intuitively, and that's sort of in our criteria for looking for our next investors. And it's about daring to also say no to opportunities that come to your way that you feel like it's not a fit, it's not a match. um,
Now that I'm reflecting a little bit more, because I think in my answer I was thinking about our current round of fundraising a lot. So that means we had already raised our first round and we're looking for a next pre-seed or a seed. But in our very first round, I think it has definitely helped. Um, how it objectively helps is also that investors assess, like, if you're a refugee or an immigrant, that must have mean you've already gone through so many hardships, you have persistence, so they can objectively.
Yeah, the chip on the shoulder thing is
Yeah,
sort of a check in the box that you
yeah,
don't have to think about
so
anymore.
that really helps. And then I guess I do notice that people find it very interesting that I'm a female in tech, right? So then um, that is also seen as an asset, and especially in that very first phase, it's so much about the personal relationship. Like, for example, the angel investment phase,
hmm.
they have to like you, they have to believe in you as a person. So I think they're standing out by being quite a diverse founder team. Yeah, must have helped.
Very good point. No, I fully agree. The investors that we have so far have indicated to us literally that they have selected Sarah and I as the co-founders that they want to back for. And right now I want to speak specifically about Sarah, right? Like, being a women in tech, that they're like, yes, we need that point of view in the tech field as well. We need that point of view in every field, I would say, right? But specifically in this field that sometimes, at least historically, has been more male dominated, and we know we need each other's perspective to be able to build a future that is inclusive and that is approachable for everyone, no matter their ethnicity, their background, their gender, etc.
And I think you're doing a great job at achieving that.
Nice. Thank you so
So,
much, Dirk-Jan. Yeah, I'm very excited to see where it's gonna go.
yeah, me too. Really looking forward to seeing you back in the future. For now, I want to close with two questions I usually close with. One is my mission is to make inclusion in tech the new normal by the end of 2032. If I gave you 3 minutes at Slush, how would you pitch that dream?
Beautiful. That's a good question, by the way. As in, I like the question.
It's again about that accessibility and equitability, right? So making sure that the technology is built by both men and women, making sure that that they also make sure that it can be used by both men and women. Um, I think there's also a lot of facts about how mixed work environments actually thrive. Like, you shouldn't have male dominated or female dominated work environments. But if they mix, you get such good social interactions. So it's much better, I guess, for the employers to really want to have a mixed environments for the performance of the team. The It's much more enjoyable for the people themselves working. The product gets better. It's better for the users. It's just, I think there's only wins here, and in business is all about creating win-win scenarios and doing incentive alignment. And if you really look at the value that it brings to bring men and women together to work on something together, and all the downstream positive effects that it has, then like, why would you not want to have that, right? Like, I can think, it's so obviously the best thing to do.
Is it also the experience you have in your own team?
Um,
The part of the magic is also in the diversity of people.
yeah, 100%. Like, we've always experienced sort of the cultural diversity in the team and just different
Hmm.
life experiences.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you're trying to figure out what the problem is or trying to design the product, to have those different life experiences is a huge help.
Uh-huh.
And then more recently, we also had more women join the team, and I also noticed a difference there. Like, I hadn't realized how much I had missed. The female presence in the team as well. That also definitely brings different perspective, and just I guess there is something generalizable about how women have their social interactions and are more social glue sometimes in the group, maybe.
Okay.
I am male and I approve of this message.
Okay, cool.
Oh, that's also I think quite mention worthy. So I've been the only female in the team for a period of the time. There were also several women in the team before me, but the supportive men in the team, like, that's really the thing, that how you build each other up. So I didn't start out as the CTO because I thought I'm not the most technical person, so I cannot take this position. But then the engineers and then the men, they were like, no, we really do think you are the most suitable for the job because of this and this and this reason. So we allow you to lead us, and sort of them, taking that supportive position. I think that really helps in building each other up. And otherwise, I would not have, I think, taken that step so soon.
Sounds like a great place to close.
Yeah.
With that, if people want to learn more about Oasis now and want to connect with you, where would you like to send them?
Yeah, it would be great support if people follow our LinkedIn page. I think that's the number one social media that we have a presence on. That's where we post most of our updates as well. We still don't have a huge activity on Instagram, etc. If they can follow there, is also amazing. Naturally, they can connect with Sarah and I directly as individuals on LinkedIn as well. Always happy to help as soon as we can find a time. We have received help from others. We're happy to give back wherever we can.
Okay, cool. And we'll include those links in the show notes. Sara
Yes.
Okhuijsen, Nima Salami, thank you for a truly amazing interview. Really enjoyed our conversation. And listeners, thank you very much for listening. And until the next episode, keep being awesome. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to episode 98 of Women Disrupting Tech with Sara Okhuijsen and Nima Salami on how Oasis Now is making health data work for everyone. Sara, Nima, and I hope that you found our conversation interesting and inspiring. And if you'd like to learn more about or connect with Sara, Nima, and Oasis Now, please check out the links in the show notes. As usual, you can find the show notes at womendisruptingtech.blog. When you enjoy listening to this episode, please follow the podcast on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or YouTube. Following Women Disrupting Tech is a great zero cost way to support my guest in making inclusion the new normal in tech by the end of 2032. You can also follow us on social media. You can follow us via The True Story Company on LinkedIn and Instagram, and on Substack, YouTube, and X, formerly known as Twitter. You can follow us via Women Disrupting Tech. Finally, if you want to connect with me, you can reach me via dirkjan at womendisruptingtech.blog or by sending me a DM on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, simply search for my name and you'll find me. With that, I wish you a wonderful day. I hope to see you back in episode 99. And until then, keep being awesome.